Hello friends, welcome to today's video. In this video, we are going to discuss about functions, recursions and returns with examples. Okay, so before starting this video, I would like everyone to subscribe to my channel. Then only you will be able to get the notifications if I post new videos. Okay, so let's start the video. Here in this first, we are going to discuss what are functions. Okay, a function is a block of code which only runs when it is called. Okay, so it is always a block of code, but that code will run if you just call that code. Okay, otherwise it won't be running. A function can return data as a result. Okay, so what is this is what we are going to look at. Okay, so how can you create a function? So in order to create a function, you have to use a keyword called def. Okay, and here is the syntax: def my function. This is the function name that you can give. Okay, and inside the function you can see that there is some indentation here, and inside which you can give all the statements that is regarding to that function. Okay, so now let's see how you can call that function. Okay, so after creating a function, you can call a function. To call a function, you have to use the function name called, whatever is your function name, and then put the followed by a parenthesis. This is how you call a function. Okay, so what is a function? A function is a block of code which runs only when it is called. You can pass a data known as parameters into a function. A function can return data as a result. Okay, now I'll show you an example how to create a function. So here we are going to use the Python, okay, that I have downloaded from python.org. Okay, so now let's create a function due to the sum of two numbers. Okay, so let's give addition. Now you have to follow it by a colon, right? So inside which you are going to give the program. Okay, so you know how to create the program to find the sum of two numbers, right? So let's put input input of enter a number, right? Now let's do it for number 2 is equals to int input of enter another number. So now what you have to do? Add is equals to num1 plus num2. So now you have to print it like sum is sum of numbers num1 comma num2 is add, right? Okay, so this is how you print it. Okay, so now let's run this function and see what you are going to get. Okay, so I'll give some number. Here you are getting it like invalid syntax. Why? Because you forgot about the parenthesis. Okay, now let's see. You can see that you don't have an output. Why? Because you have not called this function. So now how can you call a function? You can just give like addition of. So now you are able to run your function, isn't it? So this is the function call. So this is known as the function call, and this is how you create a function. Got it? So so if there are 1000 lines of code, okay, and you have a function here. So inside the 1000 lines of code, inside the 567th line, you want a function. This function to work means what you can do? You can call this function, a function call in the 567th line. Okay, so in such cases we are using this function and the function call. So if you want repeatedly to be calling a function, even though you can do that even. Okay, so now let's get back and see what all you can do using this function. So now we are going to check how you can pass an argument. What is an argument? Okay, information can be passed into functions as arguments. Arguments are specified after the function name inside the parenthesis. So here in this example you have seen that your parenthesis is empty, isn't it? It was like completely empty, isn't it? So inside which you are going to give some of the arguments, okay, and pass a value. So now I am going to show you how you can do that. So now instead of giving this num1 and num2, what we are going to do? We are going to pass these values num1 comma num2 here, okay, and while calling the function you have to give a value. Okay, so at each function call you need to give a value. Got it? So these are known as the arguments. Okay, so how many number of arguments you give in the parenthesis, that many number of values you have to give in the function call. Suppose I give one argument means, then what will happen? I'll get a positional argument error. Okay, because they are expecting for two arguments, right? But you are just providing a single one, so that is why you are able to get an error. Now let's see what are arbitrary arguments. Okay, so if you don't know how many arguments that are passed into your function, then what you can do? You can give a star before the parameter name in the function definition. Okay, this is a way that it will be receiving a tuple of arguments and can access them accordingly. Okay, so now I'll be telling you how you can do using the arbitrary arguments in such a way that you can pass how many ever values you want. Okay, so now let's take a new example called favorite food. Okay, so I'll take favorite and let's take a argument to be food using this star. Okay, so if you don't give the star, what will happen? You can give like print my favorite food is food, right? So now here what you can give? Favorite of chocolate, isn't it? Okay, so you have to pass it like a string. So now you got it to be chocolate, right? So now we are discussing about arbitrary arguments, because you have to pass more than one thing, right? More than one argument. So now what you can do? You have to give here like chocolate, pizza and ice cream. Okay, so now let's see what will happen. You can see that it takes it like a tuple of things, right? So if you want the first one to be marked means you can give 0, isn't it? So how many ever values you want you can pass if you are giving a star over here. Okay, so these are known as the arbitrary arguments. Okay, the next one what we are going to discuss is about the keyword argument. So a keyword argument means a key is equals to value, right? So this is the way that we are going to pass a value. So here what we are going to do is, let's take it to be food1 comma food2. Okay, so now if you pass the values like chocolate and ice cream, what will happen? Chocolate comma ice cream, because there are two values, isn't it? So let's give it to be food2. So always your food 2 will have the one ice cream and the food 1 will have chocolate, right? So suppose if we just interchange the arguments, what you can see, still you will be able to get it to be chocolate, right? Because the first one gets the first value, second one gets the second value, right? But you want the food 2 to be ice cream and food 1 to be chocolate. So for that, what you can do is like food 1 is equals to chocolate and food 2 is equals to ice cream. So now if you do, you will be able to get ice cream here itself, right? Because the interchanging won't happen, because this is how you are giving. This is known as the keyword, okay? Keyword argument. You are trying to give a keyword in the space of the argument, okay? The value, so that your values won't be interchanging. Got it? So now we are going to discuss about the return statement. What is a return statement? Okay. So return is a statement that will return a value from a function. Okay. So if you call that function itself, you will be able to get that value. Here itself you can see you have created a function with mul and the argument called x. If you return the value 5 into x, means whatever is the x, it will be 5 times the x, and that will be returned here. Okay, I'll show you how it works. So now can you all see my screen? Yes, right? So now let's create a function called mul of x. Okay, so now let's give return 5 into x. Now what you have to give, let's give mul of, so instead of giving mul, let's give print of the function call, okay, because your function is going to return. Okay, so what is 6 times 5? It is 30. So let's see whether you are able to get the value 30. Can you see over here 30? This is because your function is returning a value. Got it? Your function will return a value because here you have given the return. Okay, so whatever is the value that is returned by the function will be printed using this print statement. Now again we are going to discuss what is recursion. Python also accepts a function called recursion. So what is recursion? Recursion means it is defined as a function call inside that function itself, right? So recursion is a common mathematical and programming concept. It means that a function calls itself. Okay, this has a benefit of meaning that you can loop through the data to reach a result. Okay, so now I'll be showing you a program to do recursion. Okay, and what is recursion? We'll just check. So now using the recursion, we are going to do the factorial. Okay, so now I am going to define a function called factorial, recur factorial of n. So what is factorial? You have seen, right? Using the for loop, because we are using a loop to do the factorial, isn't it? Using a while loop, right? So but now here what we are going to do is we are going to use the recursion. Okay, return n into your recur factorial of n minus 1. Got it? So what is recur factor? Recur factor means it is your function. Here itself you are going to call that function itself, right? So how much is your number? It will be minusing that number from here and then doing. Okay, so if you want 5 factorial means what you need, 5 into 5 minus 4, right? So again what you need, 4 into 4 minus 1, 3. Like that it should be going on doing, right? So here that is why we are doing it to be n minus 1. Okay. So this is a very simple program you can do using recursion. So here we have called the function inside this function itself. Okay. So this is known as the recursion, because inside a function itself you are trying to call a function. So this is our first function, and inside this function you are calling the same function. Okay. So this concept is known as the recursion. If the number is less than 0 means negative numbers doesn't have a factorial, right? So let's give factorial does not exist, right? So now let's give the number equal to 0. What you have to do, you have to print the factorial of 0 is 1. Got it? Now else what should happen? You have to give, because it is returning means it returns this value, right? The factorial. So what you have to give, the factorial of num is, you have to give that function itself, right? Let's give the function called here, but here you have to give this variable name, which is known as the num. Got it? So now let's see what is 5 factorial. 5 factorial is 120. Now let's try with the value 1. It gives the factorial of 1 is 1. Now let's try with the value 0. It will give the factorial of 0 is 1. Got it? This is how you do the factorial of numbers using recursion. So recursion means it is a programming concept where you are trying to call the function called inside that function itself. Such concept is known as a recursion. Okay. So guys, thank you for watching my video. If you like this video, please do like, share and subscribe to my channel, and see you in the next video with some other interesting topics of Python. Bye.